Welcome back to Shenanigans with Schup+Shaool. How you doing today, Adam?
Doing all right, all right, all right.
Love to hear it. Well, we cooked up some AFC East talk last week. Now we're going to a division that my co-host is very familiar with. He is a Ravens fan himself,
Go Ravens, go O's, baby.
Maryland native. Yes, the O's are having a fantastic season. Shout out to them. But we're going to talk about the other Baltimore team, the Ravens, and their division rivals. Uh, Before we get into it, let's talk about what is the biggest headline going into the season for this division.
Gotta be Burrow, baby. I mean, Joe Burrow, cutie McCutester, all the ladies love him. They got the high flying offense, they got the stacked D line with Hendrickson. They had a great draft. Um, Sports Illustrated picked them to go to the Super Bowl against San Francisco 49ers, which I think is some BS. But I think they're the hot topic. Burrow needs a new contract. Everybody's signing one. Lamar signed one. Jalen Hurts signed one. Burrow's the next Tom Brady, or is he Peyton Manning? I mean, it's just Burrow up your butt, Joe Boo, all day, every day. And everybody, I think, for one thing, it is a feel good story. Burrow, you remember him with the cigar, winning the national championship, and then he's won a Super Bowl. I mean, I get it. He throws a good ball. He's on time. He's on target. And the Bungles are not the Bungles anymore, man. I mean, and he looks legit for long term. This isn't like year one or two of what he's doing. So I get it. I mean, it's a great division though, but the Lamar Jackson storyline's not as much fun. I mean, it was kind of the holdout, he was everybody's darling boy. He was laughing on the sidelines for years and everything. And then all of a sudden he holds out and he's just the villain. So I think that once he signed, that story went away and it just is all about Burrow now.
Yeah, Burrow is not only the king of the division right now, but he for a while was the king of AFC, until Mahomes finally beat the Bengals in an important game and dethroned him. But you know, you touched on something real quick, and you said that it's a stacked division. I wanted to talk about that as my headline. I personally think this is the best division in football going into this year. We obviously know what the Bengals can do. They've been a force the past couple of years. We weren't sure if Lamar was going to come back or not. I mean, maybe some Ravens fans are more confident than others, but regardless, he is back. Uh, the Steelers, I think, are one of the more underrated teams going into the season with, how well their defense plays and the ability for, second year quarterbacks to take that leap like they usually do. Could see that of Kenny Pickett. And you got Deshaun Watson coming back with the Cleveland Browns, who, Watson, we might never see the same Deshaun Watson ever again. It's very possible, but we do have to acknowledge that he only played 5 games after not playing for a year and a half. Now he's got full offseason to work with his team, and the Browns made improvements to their defense. I think from top to bottom, this is the best division in football. What do you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, by far. And I mean, even when it's a little down, they still get far in the playoffs. One team out of this division makes it. They just beat up on themselves. This is a tough, rugged, rumble tumble division, and it's hard because, a lot of teams are 12 or 10 wins can win this division, and definitely there's always a wild card team coming out of here because they beat other teams in the AFC and have the tiebreakers because they have a better tiebreaker most of the time. So usually you're getting a two teams out of this division every year into the playoffs. And then they always have a surprise. Like you said, I mean, I'm not as big on Steelers this year, but I know they're going to upset someone. So they're going to catch somebody's off day and they're going to have a good game. I just don't know who they're going to surprise. I think it's going to be some teams on the road because they are a well coached team usually. But at the same time, man, if they go downhill, they're the out of the four teams. The Browns and the Bengals used to always like lose it, lose their cool. But when you're not doing well, and if Pickett doesn't do well, and a lot of their young guys don't do it, they're not the Patriots, man. They're not picking up all these young depth pieces that fit the system. I mean, when the Patriots were bad, they still ate up yards on offense. And if Pickett doesn't get completions and he gets a lot of 3-and-outs and he puts that defense in a hole, I mean, I think our division's gonna pin their ear back. The Bengals, the Ravens, the Browns, they're gonna pin their ears and go after him like nobody's business. And I think that they're gonna take some chances. And I think the as hard as it is, I think the Steelers are due for their time at the bottom to see what happens. Still, let's see.
Well, keep in mind that Mike Tomlin has never had a season finishing under 500 in his almost 16, 17-year history as being a head coach, which is awfully impressive, especially considering the fact how well under 500 they were during the middle portions of the season. But
They missed the playoffs, though. I
they
mean, it's
did miss
great
the
to be
playoffs.
500.
They did miss the playoffs, but consistency is key there for the Steelers. But we know what else is key is TJ Watt. TJ Watt wrecks opposing offenses almost like no other player in the entire NFL. Yeah, you could say Nick Bosa, but if Watt was healthy for the entire season last year, he could easily have been the defensive player of the year over him. When Watt was in the lineup, they were 1-6. When he was in the lineup, they were something like 8-3. That is a remarkable difference. One player can impact on a team. He's such an important leader for that defense. If he stays healthy for a full season, which I mean we don't know. The other Watt brother kind of slowed down towards the end of his career, so it's not a guarantee. But TJ Watt makes such a huge impact on his defense. Put that over a full season stretch with the additions that the Steelers made. At linebacker, at corner, they improved
But
the
are they
offensive
doing
line a
any? Are
bit.
they really making the playoffs, though? Are the Steelers making the playoffs?
I really think so. I really do.
Wow, that's a bold move, Cotton.
I really do. I really think they have the
So, what's
coaching
your
experience.
1 through 4 then?
Hmm. My 1 through 4 in this division is very close, but I have the Bengals number one, and I also think the Bengals are my one seed in the AFC. At number two, I have the Steelers. At number three, I have the Ravens, and number four, I have the Browns. But I
You're
have
crazy.
I have 1, 2, 3 making the playoffs.
That's crazy. That's just
Well,
I
why is
love it. I love it. I
why is
just
it
look at,
crazy?
I mean, I just feel like when I look at playing in the West Coast and going across country, and granted, the Bengals have a tough schedule, man. They're the only team who has to play both Kansas City and Buffalo, you know. But again, I mean, I just don't think that the stars align. I mean, Pittsburgh's got to play Green Bay, and I know Green Bay doesn't have the same quarterback, but they have a lot of teams on that they have to play. I mean, Jacksonville, Tennessee. I just don't know. They have to play at Indianapolis. I mean, I know they have a rookie quarterback. I just think that there's a lot of toss-ups, man. They got to go to Seattle. They have a tough end of the year where they play Cincy, Seattle, and Baltimore. And I mean, they just haven't been able to close out seasons very well. I mean, my dark horse is the Browns. I mean, I think the Browns can win anywhere from 4 games to 11 games, depending on Deshaun Watson, depending on, a lot of things with the secondary. If they bring back Clowney, if they, Schwartz, I'm a big Jim Schwartz fan on as the new defensive coordinator who's back and likes, you gotta like being a Brown, and I think he likes being a Brown. That guy, and I think they're buying into a team system, and I wonder if Pittsburgh is bought in to not as much, And if something takes them out at the knees, they're going to be a 500 team again. You know what I'm saying? I feel like Pittsburgh is still on like the teetering of like something just not happening well. And they have to have a lot more go well for them. I mean, I think it's the Ravens and the Bengals, and it's everybody else. I think the Ravens have done a lot at wide receiver. I think that Flowers as a rookie can actually doesn't need to do much, but I think he's gonna have a Waddle, impact on this team. I think that you know, don't sleep on the Ravens having a newfound thing to rally around. Everybody showed up to mini camp on time. Everybody was there doing well. I think that there's just so many. They got three tight ends. They're easily 4 to 5 wide receivers deep. They're three running backs deep. I think you're an Ohio State fan. I think that there's a lot of good on that team right now coming out of there, and I think they're hungry. I think it's different having Lamar back signed. They just have too much going for them. Granted, Lamar's got to stay healthy, but I think Lamar has a little bit of last season had a little bit of Kyrie Irving in him. He had a little Kyrie Irving injury where he kind of like, I don't know if I really want to play. I don't really want to know if I want to do this. They're not that good. We've had a lot of injuries. And I think but now he wants to win. He's getting paid. It's fully guaranteed. And I think he's going to ball out. I don't think he's going to hide behind it again. And at least I hope so. But I'm a Ravens homer.
Here are my concerns with the Ravens, and they're not deep concerns because they're still a playoff team to me. The Ravens, very well coached, great defense. I mean, they had a few losses, but they're mostly older players, and Roquan Smith was an absolute force when he joined that team last year. My concerns are mostly scheme related. They add all these wide receivers in the offseason. And that tells me that they want to throw the ball more. They want to become more of a I don't know if they want to become more of a pass first team, but they definitely want to incorporate it more than they have, where they were running the ball practically every play the past few seasons. Uh, is that going to uh impact the way that teams defend? Are teams scared of the way Lamar throws the ball? You know, and you gotta worry about Lamar too with his injury history. Was it a fake injury last year? I don't know, but it's 2 consecutive years now where he's had lower body injuries, and that hurts when you're a running quarterback. And the whole deal of he wanted a new contract real bad, and he got it. He might come out fired up, but he might also come out fat and lazy. It
I don't see that. I don't see fat and lazy. And I think your comments on Ski Monken from where did he come from? Georgia. And if you do you know anything about the offensive coordinator Monken, where he was at Georgia to putting up points? He was at Tampa Bay for a few years with Tom Brady putting up points. He's always had an electric offense. I think you're gonna see that quick read, kind of like the Joe Burrow scheme, the college quick read scheme, throwing the ball out fast. It's not, and then going down. I think it's going to be a lot of short double move, 10-yard catch, and then play after the catch. It's going to be a lot of 3 and 4 wide receiver sets with 2 tight ends, five receiver sets. I think, accuracy, of course, is a concern, but I think it's going to come out a lot faster. For me, is Lamar Jackson able to read the field like a Burrow, like a Peyton Manning, like a Tom Brady? Is he going to really be able to make those calls at the line? And Monken, I mean, I've been reading a lot. Monken says he is. I mean, Monken says he's just soaking it in, and that's what he's going to say. But I think that it is a lot easier said than done to read the plays and read the defenses and what you and be able to call the plays from the line of scrimmage. And but when you have all those receivers and all those hot short routes, making it easy for the quarterback to decipher, I think, it's going to see it. Are they going to lose some games? I mean, I see them winning, anywhere from 10 to 12 games. And I see Cincinnati winning like 11 to 13. My problem, is that I think uh can the Ravens go toe to toe on offense? I think the NFL across the board is about putting up points, and Cincinnati proved that. And they put up the points, baby. And I think, as much as the Ravens can fly on offense, you can't give up 30 some points, and the first game of the season last year, Ravens were up by what, 28 against Miami and lost, you know
Yeah.
and I my concern with Cincinnati is their safeties. They have a second year player in Dax Hill, and what is that, a rookie in Scott, or no, he's a free agent, sorry.
Yeah, and
But he
they
hasn't really
also
played
drafted
that
a
much.
rookie too.
What?
They drafted a rookie as well, but they did lose their top two safeties, including former Pro Bowler Jesse Bates.
Yeah. So I mean, think a lot of it, as many points as Ravens put up, I think their defense is still better than their offense. I think Marcus Williams is coming back at safety. Humphrey, at cornerback, I think Raekwon Smith is there. I think top to bottom, I think they have a good defensive line. Maybe not the strongest in the division. Steelers definitely, Bengals definitely, but I think, all three levels the Ravens have on defense. And I just wonder if, the Bengals time is up with some of those games where they're scoring 30 points and somebody else scores 35 instead of 28. And so we just want to see. Game's got to play the game still.
Yes. Uh, my takeaway of the Ravens is with all the reinforcements they added at receiver and the contract they gave, it's on Lamar's shoulders. It really is. He can't use the excuse anymore he doesn't have receivers. So
Oh, they have three tight ends. Likely is awesome. Second year out of Eastern Carolina, Coastal Carolina. He's great. Kohler's coming back, and you have, the number one
Andrews.
Andrews.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You're right. They have a plethora of players.
Yes. Across the division as well. The Bengals uh made some reinforcements with their O-line, adding Orlando Brown from the Kansas City Chiefs, adding some really insurance for Jonah Williams in case this contract dispute does not get resolved. Keeping that O-line intact, which fell apart at the end of the last season after performing well the entire season. If they stay intact, they'll still continue to be one of the better offensive lines in the league. Another situation to watch out for the Bengals is Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon has got himself into a lot of legal trouble in the offseason. It's not to mention he looked like he was running a quicksand at times last year. So is his time up as a Bengal? It might be, but they drafted a fifth round rookie in Chase Brown, who I wouldn't be surprised if he gets significant snaps this year if Mixon starts to lose his luster. Uh, Looking at Browns, the Browns' biggest problem last year was they couldn't stop the run. They were getting gashed all over the defense, but definitely in the run game. I think they're 31st against the run in the league. They added Dalvin Tomlinson, free agent from the Vikings, but really didn't do much more of that. So the question is, will that be enough to fix their run issues? Maybe not fix them. Maybe they'll get a little bit better, but it's a running division, so that'll be tough for them. And then you also consider the fact that Kareem Hunt hasn't been re-signed. Ernest Johnson, their third string running back, signed with another team. So they're going full workhorse with Nick Chubb. If they beat him to the ground and he gets hurt, what is the Browns' offense? They have Watson, but we do like I said before, we don't know if Watson is going to be that exact same quarterback again. So yeah, I agree with you when you say it, the Browns are a complete wild card. I have them as a 7-win team, 7, 10, 8, and 9 in that range. I think they'll be very competitive most games. Question the coaching as well. There's just a lot a lot of questions with the team. Did they really do enough to address their issues? And then going to the Steelers, like I mentioned before, I like them because they were one of the better teams in the NFL when TJ Watt was on the field. And that is based on record and defense, how they play.
My question is, what gives you any confidence in Pickett? Like, what did you see anything in Pickett or anything the Steelers did in the offseason to really to help around him make a bigger impact versus like a role player like Flowers, the draft pick? He might only get like 10 like passes or 10 plays for him, but you can do a running play for Flowers, you can do a screen, you can send him out long. You don't have to give him the ball, or target him, more than 10 times a game to make an impact. I don't see anybody that the Steelers really are going to come in and help him on offense. I think they made some good moves on defense, but I just don't see what difference on offense or why I have any hope for Pickett to get better other than it's just his second year.
I mean, keep in mind that George Pickens is going into his second year, and he made some extraordinary plays last year, and he could easily become a number one wide receiver. Uh, you know, just give them more time to build some rapport, and they could develop a pretty lethal connection. They also have Deontay Johnson on that team, who somehow did not score any touchdowns last year, which was a miracle by some stretch. But they have receivers. Their tight ends are good. Fryermuth has been pretty consistent, and Darnell Washington on the other side, 6'8", he could be a really good.
I like Washington better than Freiermuth. I mean, I watched Freiermuth at Notre Dame, right? He was at Notre Dame, and
Yeah,
he catches the ball. He's got good hands, but he's not reaching for anything. He's not tiptoeing. He's not hurdling anybody. I mean, he's a perfect Steelers tight end. Don't get me wrong, but he's not, you know, he's not anybody that they're going to be yelling his name out in the stands and cheering for him. I mean,
yeah.
he's going to make some good blocks. He's going to help the run game, but
Wait, you didn't hear the Muth chants? Muth.
I did.
I
I just
hate.
don't hear it.
Side note: I hate those chants because I can never tell if they're booing a player. And they've done it with so many players at this point, it's like not even creative anymore.
No,
But yeah, anyway.
but I want the rivalry to be there. Don't get me wrong, but I also just think that even our coach, and the Ravens, it's just after so long, does the message lose its luster? The Harbaughs are all rah rah coaches, both Jim and John, and Tomlinson is a passionate guy, and I think that in the NFL, a head coach needs to bring that passion and that cheerleading. I'm not always like your head coach has to be the smartest offense or defensive mind. I don't want my head coach drawing up the plays during the game. You can scheme for practice and scheme everything, but I want him really dialed in to the game and not calling the plays. And I think Tomlinson can definitely call plays, and I think he does it well. I know he calls a lot of the defense, but at the same time, I think he's a great CEO. But I just wonder when they're gonna, how much that cheerleading is gonna get him. And I've said it for Harb. I mean, I've been thinking Harbs is gonna be gone for a while at the Ravens. They had some bad seasons, some 500 seasons, and everybody was calling for his head. And I think that Thompson needs to have a big year. He can't have another 500 year. He can't have another miss the playoffs year just by the skin of his teeth. I mean, I'm not saying he's getting fired, but I don't think that you cannot keep living on the edge and saying, oh, they did really, really good. They just didn't make it. Oh, they did really, really good, but TJ Watt was hurt. You know, all the excuses can't keep happening if he needs to get into the playoffs. And maybe maybe this is their year. Maybe you're right. I don't know. I just don't see it.
Never underestimate the power of continuity. All right, let's talk playoffs. Starting with the Bengals, we both agree that the Bengals are division favorites, but how far can they go? Are they Super Bowl worthy?
Yeah. Hell yeah, they are. I mean, They have everything. They have, I mean, I can't think besides safety what they're lacking. Good coaching, good play calling, good quarterback, which is the most important. Um, by far, it just they're gonna make it through the playoffs, and it's gonna be. I think they're one snap this way or that way making the Super Bowl. They are a few key plays. As you can never say injuries. You have to assume that all these teams is not injury prone. All these teams, their quarterback's not going to be injured. Like you have to have the same basis for them all, you know, and you have to just put them all in the same fishbowl that all their quarterbacks are going to be healthy through the year, you know. And so that being said, I think the Bengals are just it's so hard not to say the Bungles after all these years. But
Right.
anyways, um, I think they're just like two or three plays to get messed up against the Chiefs or Buffalo from getting to the Super Bowl. Are they Super Bowl worthy? Absolutely. I think they're going to be head and shoulders, right there with Buffalo and Kansas City. I don't see any reason why not. There's no reason to nothing's changed in the last couple of years for everybody for those teams. Um, so yeah.
I like them as a Super Bowl contender. I don't know if they're necessarily my champion, but one thing they do have going for them that you didn't mention was the revenge factor. They do meet up with Kansas City again in the playoffs. Well, now it's like before it was Burrow was getting the best of Mahomes every single time. Now Mahomes finally got the best of him in a very close game that came down to like the last few plays. I'm sure the Bengals will remember that. And they didn't lose a ton of pieces besides their safeties, which they did replace, although not to the same level. But then again, it's just safeties. They're still pretty good at corner, and Chidobe Uzie is going to return from his injury, and he should be, that'll help their secondary immensely. I like the Bengals as one of the Super Bowl favorites, if not the Super Bowl favorite, besides the Chiefs, of course. Now, what about the Baltimore Ravens? We both have them as playoff teams, but what is their ceiling, and what would it take for them to get beyond what their ceiling is?
If they get into the playoffs, they are the type of team that historically with Lamar Jackson loses the first round. Just whatever first game. They're not. He has not done anything. Well, even when they got the bye, he loses the first game for the second round. So he needs a Joe Flacco, Joe Montana run to be perfect to really have a chance at a Super Bowl. I don't see them grinding out a game against any good AFC team because all the good AFC teams have great offenses. They're not going to go up and win four back-to-back Ray Lewis type led games in the to win a Super Bowl. Um, so unless he can throw the ball consistently and have Joe Montana, Joe Flacco numbers, I forget who was the quarterback. I'm a horrible Ravens fan right now that they won their first Super Bowl with.
Dilfer.
Dilford, right? They're not going to have, he can't be Dilford. He can't be just get him there, manager of the game type of quarterback. He's going to have to throw the ball well to a lot of guys and, put up 35 points every game. And that's just the truth. I mean, it's not going to be anything else besides that for the Ravens in the playoffs.
Yeah, so odd hearing you mention the names Montana and Flacco simultaneously, as if they're like,
Well,
automatic
that
tier.
Flacco, his numbers, they kept comparing him. I went to that Super Bowl, and they kept comparing him and his numbers and how many, his accuracy and the touchdowns, interceptions. It was thrown out so much during that playoff run. It was disgusting, and I guess it's just stuck in my head because it was just announcers that year, and he was the golden boy, and then he fell off. I mean, again, going back to my question about the Steelers, what is Pickett going to do in the playoffs? I mean,
What is he going to do in the playoffs? Probably nothing because most first year quarterbacks don't do a whole lot in the playoffs. But just looking for progression, just looking to uh better offensive line play and learning to plays more. I think Pickett didn't show a whole lot of great. He didn't show that too much bad either. It's just a matter of building rapport. And I don't love the Steelers for their offense anyway. I love the Steelers because I think they got one of the best defenses in the league, and they're going to be the type to win those gritty, grinded out games. And I like their schedule. I think the Steelers have a ton of winnable games on their schedule. Uh, you talked about Green Bay. I think Green Bay is an easy matchup this year. Uh, and then
This
all of
if you can see my thing, there's all L's there, buddy. All L's. I hate the Steelers.
well, we know that. Enough about the Steelers. What about the Cleveland Browns? What would it take for the Cleveland Browns to reach the postseason this year?
The Dalai Lama to go to and move to Cleveland and buy a mansion and then get elected mayor of Cleveland. They need all of that to happen for them to get the luck of the Dalai Lama on their side.
Wow. You may be right. You may be right there. And I think it's unfortunate just because of the division they play in, how stacked it is.
I think
Uh
they're going to win some games. I think you're absolutely right. They could win 7 to 9 games. I have their ceiling at 9 games. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they definitely can beat anybody at home. I think that I'm not sleeping on them, but I just don't think they're. Again, this is a tough division because they beat each other up. This is a tough division because it's just a dogfight every game. But they got to go to Denver and the Rams back to back, and again they end their season against New York at the Jets at home and away at Cincinnati, and that's not easy, you know. And I just wonder as they get late in the season, how are they going to go? I mean, they start off hard. The Browns' first 4 games: Cincinnati, at Pittsburgh, Tennessee, Baltimore, San Francisco. That's not easy,
no,
you
not
know? And so you start hard and you end hard. And I think they could win out some games in the middle of the year. I think they could punch San Francisco in the face. I'm not a huge San Francisco fan. I think but going to Seattle in the middle of the season at week 8 at Seattle, not easy, you know? And so I just think that a lot of their games and a lot of Pittsburgh games are coin flips, and you say with the defense, I think the Browns have a decent defense, but I just don't know. Like, I think too many coin flips don't go either of their ways.
yeah. Well, what actually I think it would take for the Browns to become a playoff team is Deshaun Watson returns to his Houston form, free allegations, and becomes this dynamic quarterback that he used to be. That and I think their draft picks, which they made some smart draft picks, even though they didn't have a pick till the third round. They got wide receiver Cedric Tillman, a possession receiver. They got offensive tackle Dewan Jones from the Ohio State University, who fills in a big need and potential successor for Jack Conklin. And nose tackle, I'm going to butcher his name, but it's like Siaki Ika. And he's also another addition to help stop that run game. If those guys step in and provide a huge impact, then the Browns, along with Watson stepping up and Nick Chubb having the season of his life, the Browns could become a playoff team and sneak in. They'd have to sneak in.
Late round draft picks. Let me just tell you something. You're hoping on late round draft picks. Yeah, that's saying shit in one hand, hoping the other, and see which one fills up first. Counting on third, fourth, fifth round rookies isn't going to be easy. But yeah, I mean, of course, you want to think good and you want to.
Seahawks did it. Just
But
Seahawks did it last year. It's more possible than you think.
yeah, yeah, and I think that is it then if you count on all those role players, is it Deshaun Watson going back to his old form, or is it Deshaun Watson really managing the game and making good choices and not the interceptions, you know?
Deshaun Watson doesn't make good choices. Let's get that out of the
That's where I was getting at.
way. Anyway, well, we got a few minutes left, so let's wrap it up with some bold predictions. Do you have any bold predictions that haven't already been stated so far for this division?
I think the Steelers win 5 games or less.
Oof. I hate that. So I'm gonna go in the opposite direction. I'm gonna say they win 10 games or more and make the playoffs.
Wow, that's
Hmm.
great.
And you know what else? I think Zay Flowers will have the best season among all rookie receivers. Um, Mostly because I don't trust Odell to actually produce at this stage in his career. But I also think that they're going to heavily involve him in the offense.
Yeah, I think my second one, not to be a homer, is that Lamar Jackson wins 2 playoff games. And I don't think he goes farther than that, but I think he's going to win 2 playoff games
Conference
and
championship.
conference championship, lose in the conference championship, whether it's against the Bengals or I don't know how it's going to stack up, but I think he wins one, if not 2 games, and I think he's got a full season. And then my third one is Cincinnati falls off. They'll still make the playoffs, but they'll be out in round one. That would be my third, less at all of them. I'm pretty confident in my Steelers prediction. I like my Homer Ravens pick. And I still, I think that if everything went bad for the Steelers, barring no injuries, I think people are angry at Burrow. I think they're tired of that pretty boy smile. I think they want to shove that pretty boy smile into the ground and just, just, just put it right in there and just give it to him. I think the Bungles are still have a little bit of that in their head. I think Mixon, like you said, if he's not doing so good and they can't get in the run game and they're one dimensional. Now, granted, they've been one dimensional for a while now. But they don't really have a tight end. I'm not a big fan of Smith that they brought in. If
Right.
a good defensive coordinator kind of in this league, they see stuff that you cannot keep doing the same thing in this league. And if Cincinnati, you know as much as I say that they are from the beginning that they are consistently at the top and it makes sense and they're everybody's pick and they're doing really good and there's no reason to dethrone them, kind of like Buffalo and last week we talked about. If there's one of those teams between Buffalo, Kansas City, and Cincinnati in the AFC that are all in the top there, that teams want to focus on going after that system, a real system team, a team that consistently plays these wide receivers, this fast pace, this whole way. I mean, Ravens had their number a little bit last year. They came in, gave them a hard time. It wasn't easy. They definitely McDonald saw that in college. He's a college guy. I think Monken on the offensive coordinator side is going to be able to give them a little bit of insight to that. So, yeah.
All right. Well, love to wrap it up with some bold predictions, but we are out of time on this show. Uh, we're gonna cap with the AFC South next week, so looking forward to that. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Follow us on Spotify, subscribe to us on YouTube, and catch us next time. I'm Shoop,
I'm sure.
and we'll see you for some more shenanigans.
See ya.
See ya. Just got it in time.